you know, in for a penny, in for a pound. I've just taken the rear hub off, and there is an absolute ton of grease around it. You know, I don't know why anybody would put any grease there anyway, but whatever. That's just a bearing seal retainer. There's the oil seal. I suppose they do leak. I've never seen one leak in my life. It looks like this engine was probably stood around for a long time prior to being built. I can't comment on, you know, stuff like this where it's rusty, but all I can say is that that's probably from India, where they've got quite a humid environment. There's nothing wrong with the bearing's fine. And if I, the reason why I've cut into this one, let me come up a bit higher, because it had wide wheels on it already. It's been shimmed underneath here. So if we take this off, if I can get it off, and it's coming slowly. There we go. Might need a bigger screwdriver. Just take the cone off and we shall see what size spacer is behind that. They normally just fall off when you get to there, but this one's fighting me for some reason. I'll get the hammer and just get behind there and just tap it on there. There she comes. Very tight on that one. And we can see what size spacer is on there. Might be actually two, because I'm sure I can feel one on stuck to the back of the cone. Yep. So there's two spacers on there. MB sell them spacers in different widths and sizes. What they basically do is they pull the hub slightly this way if you've got wider wheels on. This one had wider, bigger wheels previous to me owning it. See if I can just knock that off there now. Still not pulling off. I mean, it's quite easy to move. It's not like it's solid or anything, but you know, I'm doing it bit by bit, and it is moving. It should be off the next one. Right, so that's our cone that goes with the rear hub. I've decided I'm going to change that rear hub. I've got some new brake shoes, GP ones, although these say Innocenti on them. They do look like they're quite greasy, and I'm not surprised when you look at, you know, the amount of grease. I don't know what or who's done that. That's not unheard of. Bit, you know, rusty behind there. I've seen that on quite a few Indian engines, and you know, if they've not changed these bearings when they built the engine, then you can't blame AF for things like that. Not that I'm looking to blame anybody. You know, it's I'm telling everybody to check. I mean, that's not far off a standard shim, that one. I'd have to get the caliper on that and read that, but I think that's a standard shim. So it's not had a wider shim on it, so it just goes to show what you believe and what you know are two different things. So I'll just clean some of this grease off of here. I mean, the engine looked like it was new prior to being built, so, and they've put better oil seals on the mag side and drive side, and crankshaft in it, and piston barrel, and an uprated clutch is all I can see that's done on it. It did have an NK pipe on it. As I said to you before, I'm not a fan of motorbike looking exhaust. I'm not a racer of scooters, so it never really bothers me. You know, a Clubman is to me is fine. It looks standard-ish, and I mean, there's grease all around the plate, the clamp plate on to hold the oil seal retainer in. So you know, everything is greased up to the eyeballs, where I would personally avoid putting any grease anywhere near anything there. Anywhere near your brake shoes is the last place you want grease. You know, there's hardly, I can't see any. I'll take the shoes off in a bit and we'll have a look, but you know, I mean, there's a ton on that. Ridiculous. Absolute, you know, oceans of grease on it, where you're going to cause yourself a problem. I suppose I'm lucky that the brakes were working, looking at how greasy they are. I mean, that's fine. You don't need a ton of grease in there, so I'm a bit at a loss why, you know, why somebody's put a ton of grease in there, but you know, hey ho, it wasn't me. In fact, that one of them washers is broke, so I'm leaving them off. I'll just put the bolts back, or nuts back on for the time being. I mean, they're only standard again, and it looks like whoever built this engine puts their numbers and what size and etc., you know, the opposite way from me. I always have mine, as you know if you've watched any of my videos, but every single one of them you can read what the what's on the nut, whether it's stainless steel or whatever it is. So also as well, one of the studs has come out with the nut, which is that top one. Not bad, you know what I mean. I'm just sticking it in for the time being, but I will take the nut off of it when I come to do this properly. I'm going to order a Uni Auto backup again, like I've ordered for the last rebuild. I was very impressed with that. Like I say, they don't really need to be tightened up at the moment, and I'll just put that shim on so we don't lose it, along with that cone. I'm not putting it on properly yet. I'll just stick it on. Like I say, I won't actually be using that. I'm just going to tap it on. I'll try to tap it on. I always think for the Uni ones, for the money, and they're already stove enamelled. I mean, that's really tight on there. I don't know why it's so tight. That should be sliding on, not being forced on. In fact, let me leave that there. I'm not going to, because I'll only have to take it off again. Chuck them washers away. And that one. I'm going to change the drive side bearing retainer for an Innocenti one from the Scooters India. As I said when I looked at it before, you know, all these companies are telling you not to put them in, and yet this is a tuned engine and it's got one in. So I always take some of the stuff they say with a pinch of salt, to be honest. If you run with what you've got, unless you want to spend tons and tons of money, you know, if it's faulty and it's leaking from that, fair enough, use that. But if it's not and it's perfectly serviceable, use it. It's you know, you're chucking good money after bad. I'm just going to take these shoes off while this video's running. So I sound like I'm probably dejected a little bit, but I'm not. It's always better to find out these things now. You know, I've had the bike probably 3 or 4 years now and never bothered to strip it down or anything. So, but I did buy it from a guy who professed to be an ex-workshop guy. Did your apprenticeship with Lambretta in Hull. So you tell me. I hope I never got one of these bikes, and I'll leave it at that. And again, I'm not naming the guy because, you know, I know he put bits on the engine, and he gave me a ton and a half receipts with this bike. Like I say, I stripped down all the bodywork off of it, and I changed the forks in the bike. See what I mean with the shoes? I think there's grease from all that packing grease on them shoes. I can clean them up and reuse them. There's plenty of meat left on them, but you know, you can get all the grease. I mean, that's just grease. None of it's the copper grease. So Let's just spray a bit of brake cleaner on there, you'll see it just run down. Look. The only thing with grease is that looks bone dry. There should be copper grease on here, and I'm going to take that out because I bet you that's bone dry. And again, this all comes down to probably me to blame with maintenance, to be honest with you. I don't use this scooter every day. I tend to have brief love affairs with my bikes where I'll go out on them and then they just sit there in the garage while I'm riding another one. It's just with building the other engine, I was wondering, because it's the GP I got was a 150 and this engine being an AF, I thought if it's something sort of special, could end up in my Series 2, or in fact you know, there's been a couple of frames up for sale recently, Italian frames, put it into an Italian bike, so you know, make use of it. And there's a little bit of grease in there. I say I'm not cleaning anything up yet, it was just really to just show you. But that's bone dry, and in fact there's a bit of rust on there. You know, I've never seen that on any brake component. These are both dry. You know, they should have copper grease on them so the brakes move nice and freely. It's a good opportunity to actually show you that's not level. It's lower at the bottom and higher at the top. I mean, look at the play in that. I bet you there's no washer behind there as well, so there's either no O-ring there or there's no washer here. Like I say, I've had no cause to take off the rear hub, but it just, I ran with it. And I scratched it up over the years, but looking at that, it don't look like it's ever had any acid etch primer on it. So if you're painting aluminium and you just put normal primer onto it, it will just burn off. Anyway, I digress again like I normally do. Right, so I'm going to call this again another day. I need to buy some more bits, more than I thought I'd needed, but you know, hey ho. I'm not losing any sleep over it. This is my bike, so I don't care, to be honest with you.